Well, innovation is basically the ability to take new concepts and in terms of differentiating new concepts and implement them so that you have actually meaningful benefit. It's one of those very abused buzzwords. It basically means to bring in new product, and everybody has different ways of defining it or even understanding innovation. But for me, it's about being creative and coming up with something new and then implementing it well. The implementation aspect is very important. It doesn't matter what business you're in, whether it's as an entrepreneur or as an SME or a big corporate, the world around us is changing significantly. And even we at the southern tip of Africa, we are not exempt from it. The data, internet, phones, mobile phones, apps, all these technologies are coming faster and faster. And I don't think everybody out there realizes how part and parcel it already is of the world that we live in. And combined with that, with this kind of massive exponential technologies happening around us, we're also dealing with a changing market. You know, you have the democratization of information, social media, people now have choice and they're fickle about what they want. And you cannot do business in an old and traditional way anymore. You have to be able to adjust to what your clients want. Otherwise, they're going to go somewhere else, because it's very, very easy to participate in this economy. It's very competitive, but to start up is really, really easy. And if you can't be relevant, you're not going to remain. When I talk about innovation at work, it's often about the things that we do normally, and how do I do that better, faster, and differently? And I mean, if you think about the early, when McDonald's was first started, it's pretty normal. You drive there, you park, you get out of the car, and you walk in and you order your stuff and you take it with you. And just the concept of a drive-through is a completely different concept. Now for us, it's the norm. The 1970s is probably, if I get my history correct, the time of the Vietnam War. A lot of servicemen in the US and all the different military groups, and apparently it wasn't legal for servicemen who were active and who had the uniform on. They weren't allowed to get out of their cars in public, so they couldn't actually drive to a McDonald's and get out and go fetch their food. And this drive-through was developed to enable specifically for servicemen to be able to buy at McDonald's. So safe space for innovation is about having the ability to come up with new ideas and being allowed to do that. So safe space is about, if you're an employee, to be allowed to come up with new ideas and try and test them. So it's also about being allowed to make mistakes, and a tolerance for mistakes, and the tolerance for doing things differently. And you can formalize it, or it can be almost embedded in the culture. In FNB, it's embedded in our culture. But some areas you need a space where people can go and have, dragon's dens, or kind of pitch dens, or a place where they can try out stuff, or brainstormings that they can participate, or even an email box where they just give ideas of how things can be improved. But it's a safe space for them to think differently. Another one is the importance of collaboration, and how you actually need to create and reward successful collaboration and the ability to collaborate. And collaboration for me is a lot around communication and creating communication flows. Because collaboration is about multidisciplinary people and teams getting together and solving a common problem. Because the more diverse views you have, the better ideas you'll get. Then broadening context. So, there's a lot of different ways of looking at that, but it is about having the ability to get ideas from different places. Because if you look at things the same way and you get your ideas from the same space, you're not going to have fresh ideas. And what I like to do is I like to look at other industries. How does the logistics company solve for process flows, and how can we implement those type of challenges back into the bank? In Israel, an arms company engineers basically took a concept of a guided missile, which was a missile which had a camera in the front, and the camera was used to guide the missile. They used the same principle to build little little cameras into capsules that are currently being used for diagnostics internally in terms of your digestive system. So this tiny little capsule's got a tiny little camera in it, an LED, a battery, and there's a way that it gets captured so your doctors can figure out what's going on in your intestines. And it's way, way better than any scopes that you can do at the moment. And that for me is a wonderful example of how you can take ideas from another industry to a completely different space, but take the same concepts. So organizational agility is very important, that you need to create almost formal structures for the organization to adjust quickly. And that is the hardest thing to have right, because it's not just about how do you get great ideas, it's about how is your strategy aligned to being agile, and how do you actually create agile processes in terms of your product development or the ability to implement new things into the organization. It's actually deeply embedded in our structure and in our culture. So FNB is a federated structure. Jacques on the video spoke about decentralized decision making, which means that every business unit has the authority to make decisions around its own business. So you have over 80 or over 60 business units in the bank who simultaneously can adjust to the needs of their specific business. Which means that you don't have to wait for, if I was e-wallet, I don't have to wait for a check or for debit cards or for somebody else to adjust to their world before I can adjust to mine. I can do that all the time at the same time. And I get allocated the resources and the capital to do so, and the trust. So it's deeply embedded in our culture.